or am I going to get any feedback? I have to mute this. Do. Okay, here we go. See, all right, look, let me mute it. Let's mute it. Let me do this, pop out the chat so I can see the chat and not look at myself. Sorry, I'm just trying to get coordinated when you're doing everything yourself. I want to go to Venezuela. Just saying. Did you guys see that story about Azalea Banks digging up her dead cat and cooking it? Honestly, I used to love Azalea Banks' music. However, it's taken a turn for the worse. It's taken a turn for the worse. What's going on? I see the people in the chat on YouTube. We are broadcasting live both on my TikTok and on YouTube, just showing love to both platforms because both platforms show love to me. I wanted to talk about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, but we won't jump into that just yet. I want to talk about a possibility of the Real Housewives of Miami. Well, Wendy Williams went on her show today to plea to Andy Cohen. You know, Andy's a big fan of Wendy Williams. So I think I wouldn't doubt that they had a text exchange and he's trying to convince the higher ups to make Miami happen. Because you may recall there was a story that came out several weeks ago that Andy is trying to have Miami come back and he would like to bring it to the Peacock streaming app. I just downloaded the Peacock streaming app. It's cute. I'm trying to watch Below Deck to get caught up with that. But I honestly, if you're going to bring back Miami, bring it back to Bravo. Don't force people to download another app. Just saying. Let me see what my people on TikTok are saying. I see you guys. Guys, I'm going to try and read the chat while we're doing this. But so Wendy on her show today was saying that she would be open to being a friend of, which I found to be interesting because Wendy never before was ever interested in being on these reality shows because she didn't really need to. So it's interesting that she is open to it now. And she says she doesn't want to be a full-time housewife because she said that's a lot of work. She would just rather be a friend of. I mean, I would watch Wendy on, be a friend of. But if they do Miami again, it has to be a whole new cast. It has to be a whole new cast. Totally Bougie in the TikTok chat room says, no thanks. Yeah, so she was saying that, and she also suggested a few different people that she wants. Phil Collins, this legendary singer, his ex-wife, that whole situation is so messy right now. Lord, I don't know. First of all, when a situation's already messy, for them to come on a show, it's sort of like, are they going to really give us the deets? But you never know. You never know. Her situation is very messy. She's living in Phil Collins' mansion in Miami with her new husband. Now that's, the other woman that she wanted to suggest for Andy to bring onto the Real Housewives of Miami reboot was Larsa Pippen, Scottie Pippen's ex-wife. She also the ex-best friend of Kim Kardashian. I'm liking those suggestions, but you don't really know these personalities until you actually see them on camera. Are they really going to give it to us? Is it going to be interesting? The thing about Miami, it just never connected. Miami's a hot, sexy, beautiful city. Like that should be one of their big cities. For it to come and go the way that it did was because of the terrible casting. Sorry to the casting directors that casted for that. We all make mistakes. Just saying. Larsa definitely would have a storyline. I mean, she already has a storyline. She's already in the blogosphere in regards to some of the messiness that goes on there. So it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. But I'm open to a Real Housewives of Miami reboot. But like I said, don't bring back any of those ladies. I want a whole new cast. And of course, we want some women of color. Just saying. 90 Day Fiancé, as you guys know, if you've been following this channel, if you've been following me on TikTok, I love 90 Day Fiancé. The new season 8, is a little lackluster. It's a little lackluster. This week, First of all, I got some tea that I found online. Shout out to Sherelle's World. Apparently, Andrew and I can't even recall her name, the young woman from France who got detained in Mexico. Well, apparently, you won't see too much of them left on the season because apparently she got deported back to France. And based on people following her on Instagram and things like that, she is back in France. And apparently, what I'm hearing is that the producers allegedly asked Andrew to make her come to Mexico. So these producers from 90 Day Fiance are really trying to make this stuff happen, which we appreciate as viewers. However, it is a pandemic, y'all. We don't need to risk people's life or get them detained in Mexico City. I mean, it's our whole detainment situation over here is really bad. Can you imagine Mexico City? Anyways, we'll be watching that story. But this last episode of 90 Day Fiance was a little interesting. I don't know. Shout out to Just Devine says, I don't think I can stomach much more of 90 Day. I'll listen to your reviews instead. I appreciate that because that's supporting me. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you guys on TikTok that watch my 90 Day Fiance. I just feel like I'm committed. I'm committed. You know, maybe that's the Taurus nature in me. I'm just committed to watching and supporting. You know, once I'm committed to something, I'm just not going to stop. But I think it's going to get really good. I do have some spoilers. So if you don't want to hear the spoiler, I already gave you a spoiler, sorry. Sorry. But I did hear, okay, for those that don't want to spoil it, step away, that Jovi and Yara actually did get married during their 90 days and welcomed a baby girl last year. Welcomed a baby girl last year. You may recall this particular couple in New Orleans, they lost the baby over a year ago. So during the last episode, you kind of see that, oh, maybe this is going to work out because, you know, the first couple of episodes with them, it was sort of like, oh God, this is a mismatch. But I think, well, I don't think, we know they got married and they actually have a baby girl. Another couple that I hear made it through the 90 days, if you guys are ready and you don't want a spoiler, and mind you, the only reason why I know this is because people in the comments spoiled it for me, and then I had to dig and find out the truth. Natalie and Mike, I hear, also made it through the 90 days and ended up getting married. Natalie in this last episode, I know I hear it from everyone. Everyone's been commenting on the video that I did on TikTok in regards to Natalie. Shout out to Barry. Barry says in the chat room, I hated Yara in the beginning. I didn't hate her. I didn't love her either. But Natalie in this last episode, we already know she's very controlling. Mike, I have to say, he's shown a level of maturity and patience that, whoa. But at the same time, in being sympathetic to to Natalie, I get it. She's coming from being a city girl to this country life, and you're going to live with a man. And you know, look, I'm a man too, and I can only imagine straight men. How are they living in their home? Some are better than others, but what do you think that closet really smells like? When she said it, I cringed, but also culturally, you know, Eastern Europeans, and I'm saying this from people I actually know, are very direct. You know what I mean? Culturally, I also think it's not even just Eastern Europeans. I think it's a very European thing to be very direct. But yeah, Misbehaving in the chat room on TikTok, if you're not following me, it's at TheKempire, says Mike should have ran away fast. For those of you in the chat, if I'm missing your comments, I apologize. Just comment again. Or you can head on over to the Kempire Daily YouTube channel so we can chat here as well. I have, because the monitor up here is a little bit bigger for me. Look, I'm getting, whew. Anyways, some of the other couples from 90 Day Fiance. This week, we didn't get a conversation with Julia and Brandon, but their story is still very interesting. I'm watching them. I saw on the 90 Day Bears All that aired last week. It's still a very interesting situation. So we're going to be watching it. And I don't know. The other couple from 90 Day Fiance, Rebecca and Zayed. First of all, why do these Americans, and you know what it is? I think a lot of Americans do not travel outside the United States. You and I do. However, I think if you did the numbers, a lot of Americans do not travel outside the United States. Why do these people think once these foreigners are coming off a plane, probably some have traveled 30 hours, that do they want to go out and have a party? No, I don't even want these cameras in my face, but I know it's paying us, so okay. But I want to go home and go to sleep. I'm just saying, don't you want to go home and go to sleep? That's just me. So anyways, Rebecca Zayed, she meets him at the airport. Her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend, I believe it is, I don't think it's her fiance, wants to be there, apparently. And it's just very awkward. And I give it to Zayed. Zayed's very laid back. You know, I appreciate Zayed for how old he is. He's only like, what, 27? And Rebecca's what? Well, how old is Rebecca? Like 50 something? Anyways, she's acting like a schoolgirl when she sees him. You already know how Rebecca is. She has sheets with pictures of him. She has everything with pictures of him. Okay. Anyways, so they already seem like they're giving him the cold shoulder. They're interrogating him. And I, like I said, I feel like he just got off a long flight. If he's cranky, I wouldn't blame him for being cranky. I'm just saying. I wouldn't blame him for being cranky. But anyways, let's get to the real stuff that you want to talk about. Let's talk about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I didn't do my little quick recaps on TikTok today like I normally would. However, I wanted to do this special live to talk about some of the things that are going on in the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And I think finally it's starting to pick up, which is kind of crazy because I think they already recorded the reunion. So it's sort of like, okay, you came and now it's like, all right. Anyway, so we have another episode where we only get one scene with Mary Cosby. If you're not following me on TikTok, I posted the audio of Mary Cosby berating her congregation, saying, I only got 14 birthday cards. She said, you're poor. I was offended. I was truly, truly offended for them. And we only got that one scene, and that scene was with Whitney on her phone calling Mary Cosby, because Mary Cosby was that poor cousin housekeeper. It's got to deal with this woman. I feel so much. I feel for her. Barry in the chat room on TikTok says she's getting ready for prison. And Gabrielle says, "Don't get me started on Mary, on Mrs. Mary." You know what the thing? I think Mary would be an interesting character. I just feel like there's a lot going on with Mary that probably should not be on TV. You know, the episode before this last one, we got to see her several homes that sit empty, businesses. We also got to see her hoarder's paradise with all these top designer lines. And then, of course, we discovered this audio of her calling her congregation poor. Yet she's making money off of them and all these other businesses. And I've said this multiple times. I feel like Mary's grandmother was the business person, but Mary is just spending her money. So it would be interesting to see how she's making money now. And I heard that she's like one of the richest Salt Lake City housewives. So I'm like, all righty. So as you know, the last episode that aired, it was Jen Shah throwing a big birthday party for her husband, Coach Shah, which she calls him at the end of this last episode, which was kind of awkward. But I know people don't like Jen Shah, but to me, she's the most consistent. She is what we want from Housewives. We want the drama. We want the dramatic personality. And she's giving it to us. She's a polarizing figure. And I mean, is she funny? Not really. I mean, I wish she was a little bit more funny. This last episode, I cringed a lot when they took the trip to this, I guess, spa where they're in these tubs outside. I mean, I don't blame her for keeping her slippers on. But it also looks very tranquil. When they were walking up to, I was like, oh, that looks really tranquil. Let's see what the chat room say. If you had the money for the clothes and such, wouldn't you have a nice closet? That's a good point in regards to Mary Cosby. Why doesn't she have like this big luxurious, even if it's one wing of the house, why don't you have that as like your big closet? Or why don't you have proper storage? You could make one of those houses just your closet, or build a house for just your closet off on your property or something like that. I don't know. I think she's just a hoarder. I think she's just weird in a multitude of ways. But speaking of weird, back to Jen Shah. So you know the party went awry. Whitney was so apologetic. She invited her to this spa in order to make up for what happened. And looking back at the party, I do feel like Whitney handled it incorrectly, because I feel like she was just ready to throw Lisa and Meredith under the bus, not confirming that that's what they actually said to Mary. Like, you don't know if that's what she said to, if that's what they said to Mary. So why would you go back to Jen and say, well, they're scared of you? You don't know that for a fact, Whitney. So why would you do it? To me, that was just like, Whitney, that was poor judgment. But she was also drunk. Let's not forget that. I still do love Whitney Rose. But I do feel like she could have handled that situation a little bit better. The other character that I am falling so in love with, and I'm going to try and get an interview so we can have a conversation, is Heather Gay. Heather is our prized housewife from Salt Lake City. She doesn't have to bring the drama. And this is what I say with these characters. You don't have to bring drama to be interesting on a reality TV show. And Heather is bringing that. I'm enjoying her so much. I love her relationship with her daughters. She is the ultimate communicator. Where all these housewives and all these reality shows where people do not know how to communicate, Heather knows how to communicate. Let's go to the chat room before I jump into more Heather. I think she was drunk and the producers told her to. Poor judgment. Barry says Whitney had the wrong time and place. Love her though. I agree. But to Heather at this spa situation, really, the fact that she was able to connect her divorce to what she was feeling in regards to Jen. I know someone tweeted me and said that was actually pitiful and sad on some level, but she owned it. I love the fact that she was vulnerable enough on a reality TV show and vulnerable enough in front of her friend to actually share that it's more important for me to be your friend than to be heard. And so many of us, including myself, we fight to be heard, to be right. And she was like, that's not what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to make amends with someone who I consider a friend. And that to me was really genuine because she really considers Jen her friend. And I don't feel like the other ladies consider Jen their friend on that level. I think Meredith had that relationship with her. I don't know about Lisa. Lisa and Meredith as a pair, I don't like that matching. It's just, I want to like them, but they're not giving a lot, and we're almost done with the season. Meredith is hiding some lover. Now she's pretending like she's with Zeph. I love Zeph and I love Brooks. Those are the best parts of Meredith. Barry says Heather has grown on me. Thank you. Miss Behaven says, I thought she was honest when she told Jen that she thought she would lose her as a friend. I can appreciate the honesty because a lot of us wouldn't admit something like that. We would fight to be right. And Jen in that moment didn't own up to anything. She didn't own up to her reaction. Just because Whitney told you that didn't mean you had to throw a glass and throw a fit and storm out of the party. I was cringing a lot with this last episode with Jen because I feel like she wasn't owning her part in it. However, later in the episode, her conversation with Coach Shah, that it changed my feelings again towards Jen. She just sucks me right back on in. But yeah, so back to Heather. I loved what Heather said, and I tweeted this because I thought it was such a genuine moment. And I watched The Housewives. I know a lot of people watch it for entertainment and for the drama and things like that. But as a psychology major, I watch these reality shows really like a science experiment. I'm trying to understand human behavior, why someone, first of all, would share their lives on reality TV, but if they're going to share their lives, how they're sharing their lives and what's the story that they're telling. I've always been fascinated with people like that. I did an 8th grade project on how smells can remind you of memories in your life. 8th grade science project, just saying. So it was fascinating to see Heather shared that side of herself. And I think that really let Jen's guard down. And immediately Jen was like, No, because Heather was the only one in that group trying to own it. Whitney was just like, no, 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 no. And even when Whitney tried to get in the tub with her and apologize, Jen was like, all right, I forgive you. But Jen was like, in her confessional, I really don't forgive her. Which I don't blame her. But, but I do feel like Jen could have owned a little bit more, and she didn't. Maybe we shall see growth. Remember how Portia started in Atlanta? Maybe we have to give these women growth, opportunity for growth. I'm trying. Quickly, we can talk a little bit about Meredith and Lisa. It's really not worth the time, but we'll spend a couple minutes. Lisa and Meredith, their little women empowerment luncheon. Okay. I just felt like they were just doing it to do it. Shout out to Just Devine. Heather is my favorite. I did not like Heather when Salt Lake City started, but she's grown into my favorite because of how authentic and real she is. And when she shared that emotional, vulnerable moment in the tubs, I was like, oh, okay, Heather, all right, you just want to pull into my heartstrings. First of all, thank you guys so much for being here. Like I said, I want to quickly talk about Meredith and Lisa. That women's empowerment lunch, I am all for women's empowerment. My TikTok stat analytics will tell you mostly women follow me. I'm sure my Google stats would tell me that as well. I wasn't feeling it. I was like, okay, what are we doing here? And then, I don't know. That's just me. It was boring. That was the least interesting part of Salt Lake City. But let's talk about Jen Shah's conversation with Coach Shah. And, and the part of the conversation that she had with Whitney and Heather, and she was saying that she hasn't spoken to him, Sharif, in a few days because he was so upset at her. First of all, I don't know if that was necessary, but I get why she would be so upset that this drama happened at this birthday party. She did tell Whitney how important this birthday party was for Sharif and for her. And the fact that he wasn't talking to her. And she has this very codependent relationship with Coach Shah. He gives her pep talks. We all need a Coach Shah pep talk. I really like him. But she got so vulnerable. And that's what I love about Jen Shah and Heather. They got very vulnerable, and he shared how she's feeling. She feels neglected by him. And he said this was the first time that she's ever said that to him. Do I believe that? Maybe sometimes you get the power and the influence to say something because there are other people around, and she knows this could be an opportunity for her to say something, and maybe she didn't feel like she had the opportunity before. And I like the fact that she was that vulnerable, and that's why I like Jen. It's not because it's just the dramatics. She's the only one really giving us what's going on in her life. Could more be going on? Yes, she's renting that chalet. She doesn't own it. Brandy from Dallas owns it. But it is what it is, allegedly. No, not allegedly. I actually think that's fact. But allegedly, we'll put it out there. Sega Genesis in the TikTok chat says, you don't think he was a little too extra during their talk? I don't know if he was a little too extra. I just think that's who he is, and she's used to that, and especially being who Jen is. I do like the fact that he owned his stuff, him saying that, I didn't realize that this is how you really felt. I felt it was authentic, but maybe I'm gullible. Look, maybe I'm gullible. But I did feel like that was authentic coming from him. Sorry, I'm talking a lot. I needed a little water. I needed a little hydration. But yeah, so Salt Lake City, I have to say, good season so far. I don't know how many more episodes we have. I just don't understand how they upgraded Mary Cosby from a friend of to a full-time housewife, and we didn't really get a lot of her in the last 3 episodes. They did say that Salt Lake City had a different production company originally, and that changed. And when it changed, the new production company upgraded her. I'm trying to understand what's going to happen next. There's not a lot more episodes before the reunion. It should be interesting what the reunion will look like. But If you follow me on TikTok, you know I talked a little bit about Dallas. I'll just reiterate some of the things that I said, and I actually have some new thoughts because I saw the Watch What Happens live episode, which the entire episode was cringy. And shout out to Barry in my TikTok chat. She's the one who pointed out to me some of the problematic things that were said during this interview. I actually discovered a part of the interview that she wasn't even mentioning. So shout out to Barry. But she mentioned the whole chicken feet conversation. And we talk about this during my podcast, TheKempire Radio. Link will be available in the description of this video. Link in my bio on TikTok. If you're not subscribed, head on over to subscribe. As I said to you before, Zachary Reality is my guest tomorrow. We're talking about all the housewives, even The Bachelor we're talking about a little bit. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that conversation. But back to Dallas. Some of the things that Cameron, who I've grown to like in Dallas, despite Dallas being, Dallas is not the greatest of the cities that we have. But I was starting to like Cameron, and then I saw this interview that she did with Andy Cohen on Watch What Happens Live. And she mentions, the chicken feet. And if you didn't watch this last episode, Dr. Tiffany Moon brought them to get some dim sum, and they were going to have some chicken feet. I'm a picky eater. I honestly wouldn't want it either. I didn't like how Tiffany was really kind of pressuring them to eat it. But when Cameron was on Watch What Happens Live, she described the food as crazy food. And to me, I'm not going to call that racist. You define what you want to define that to be. But it was very problematic to call someone's cultural food crazy food. You guys let me know in the chat. But she also mentioned some other things, and as I said to you before, I posted on TikTok. She associated Dr. Moon's bossiness to the women in Thailand that she met, and that was problematic. But a lot of people are like, so why didn't anyone say anything? Well, you have Cheyenne Jackson, a white man, and then you have Andy Cohen, a white man. This is why people talk about having people of color in the room at the table, because someone probably would be like, Cameron, do you really want to say that? I don't think it's appropriate to call someone's food crazy food. But that's just my thoughts. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to continue the conversation, join me on TikTok. I'm going to stay on there for another few minutes. Thank you so much. As always, be sure to check out the description box for my podcast and, of course, my social media. I appreciate everyone watching.